how do you identify people's USPs or their like little component parts that maybe aren't on a CV?
So we do that, and we use Patrick Lencioni as the 5 dysfunctions of a team or whatever. That's the kind of model that we use.
Right.
You know, obviously the CV tells you a lot about what they've done, but it's digging into those scenarios like, why did you make that move? What did you learn from that move?
Have you seen situations where that hasn't gone, or you've learned that?
A massive crisis issue. But I am aware, it's a piece of advice I was given very early on by a general counsel that I worked for, who was fantastic, and he said to me, I've always thought about that.
What would you have been if you hadn't been a lawyer, if that hadn't been your career path?
I had dreams of being an opera singer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have actually made it at all.
Right.
But we'll never know. So I can. Yeah, no, I did a lot of singing at school and I really loved it, but I took a slightly safer route, which is very different.
On this week's episode of Lessons I Learned in Law, I'm delighted to be joined by Justine Campbell, who's Chief Legal Officer at National Grid. The National Grid is a business that operates both in the UK and in the US, but it's one of the world's largest publicly listed utilities providers. It provides both gas and electricity transmission and distribution services. Now, Justine's role has recently taken on an even bigger function. She's inherited the sustainability function at National Grid, but her position also spans and gives her breadth across legal, ethics, compliance, risk, safety, health, crisis, well-being. So multifaceted, which I think gives her and her team some really interesting insights from across the organisation, and we find out more about that in this episode. What I found really interesting from the conversation with Justine was hearing how she doesn't view herself as an island, how she's built the team of experts around her, both on technical ability, but also on the personalities and how she's brought that together. And she talks about it being a bit of a jigsaw that's been pieced together and now operates at a really high level, where they've got a safety net and a safe space for the leadership team to challenge one another when the time's right. Justine is also an executive member of the committee for the General Counsel 100, which is the GCs of the lawyers that represent the FTSE 100. And she talks about how important that gives her, and other communities give her a platform or a network of people that she's leaned in at certain points in her career. So again, fantastic to hear that from someone in that level of leadership role. So there's lots in there for lawyers of all levels, people that aspire to hold that position, an executive board level role one day. And I hope you enjoy. So let's jump in. Justine, thanks for joining me today on Lessons I Learned in Law. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here with you, Scott. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming. Where did you travel from today?
I travelled from deepest, darkest Hampshire.
Okay.
Where I live with my family. So yeah, nice. It's very nice to be up in the much more funky Shoreditch.
Yeah.
Today, better coffee.
Better coffee. Edgy, slightly edgier, but well, thank you for coming. Family, what size is the family?
I've got 3 children and a husband and a dog and a cat. And my eldest daughter is currently working for Runna, which is an app where she's doing the podcasting.
Oh, wow.
So I should have really asked her for some tips, shouldn't I?
Oh, did you not?
But I didn't. No, I should have.
Okay.
Have said what not to do.
How long has she been doing that?
Oh, just a short amount of time.
Okay.
So yeah, just a very short amount of time.
Is she enjoying it?
Yeah, she's really loving it, I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's very different. Well, no, maybe it's the same as this. I don't know. It's just people talking about different things, but probably just sharing their experiences and having a chat.
Yeah, nice. And is she doing the presenting or?
No, she's in the background doing the producing.
Okay, so, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to pick her brains and hear her hear her thoughts as well. So yeah, she'll be a good judge once this is all.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll give me feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've tried to give you an introduction as best as I can, but it'd be great if you could start with just giving us an overview of your role and function and where you are at just now.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Chief Legal Officer at National Grid. Let me start with National Grid first of all, because I think a lot of people don't maybe know exactly what we are.
Yeah.
So we're a pretty big company in the FTSE. We're probably FTSE top 20, 60 billion market cap company. and we operate in the UK and the US. So almost half and half UK-US.
Right.
And we run regulated utilities. So effectively, the way I sort of describe it is we run the motorways and the A-road system for transporting power and gas from where it's generated to where it's consumed.
Okay.
Simplest way to describe it. So a whole big network of energy systems. And I am responsible for legal teams across the different areas that we work in. I'm also responsible for secretariat, risk, compliance, safety, and as of yesterday, sustainability as well.
Okay,
So
right.
and social impact, which is a combined team.
Right. Nice.
But yeah, so quite a nice broad range.
Yeah.
And I've been there for just over 5 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Excellent.
an exciting role and a great team.
Yeah, excellent. What size is the team in total?
I'd have to add in the new guys now. It's probably about 300-ish, of which the majority are lawyers, or certainly half are lawyers, actually. About 150 maybe are lawyers, or in the legal function. Combination in the legal function, obviously, of paralegals, lawyers, administrators, etc., and an operations team. And then the rest will be, as I say, mix of risk, compliance, safety,
Okay.
and then now sustainability as well.
Right.
So.
Excellent. What additional those are the additional functions and the breadth of that position, have those all been bolt-ons, or the role as you stepped into 5 years ago?
I stepped into most of it 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was always a role with a broader portfolio, and the sustainability, as I say, sustainability's just been added more recently because we've had a restructure. We have a new chief executive, and she's moved a few things around, which is great. So it's given me a lovely opportunity now to add something new in, which is great. But I've always, over the last period of my career, I've always had slightly broader portfolio roles, which I really like, because I think it gives breadth, and I think it gives me the opportunity to continue to learn a lot of new things. And I think it gives the team as a whole a broader perspective on their role across the organisation. So they've got colleagues in the team that they operate in that they can go to for different perspectives on risk issues or compliance issues or safety. And I think it gives a bit of fresh thinking and more breadth to everybody's role. So I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think that you sort of hit the nail on the head, and so many people are impacted by the work of National Grid, and it's a name that is there, but maybe I had a real understanding of what it does. And I think also the UK-US split. When did that, or how did that come around? Like that it did have it's got the US.
Well, so National Grid was privatised out of what was basically the gas and electricity networks in the UK, and then about 20 years ago it started acquiring and just changing the portfolio effectively, as many big companies do, as you know, and bought into a couple of utilities in the US. And then over the last few years, we've again been pivoting our portfolio. We've now got 75% electricity and 25% gas. We still have a lot of gas networks in the US. We sold our gas transmission business about 2 years ago, and we've increasingly just been shifting things around. But we've had US presence for about 20 years.
Okay.
So it gives a nice interesting mix.
Yeah.
And a different perspective. It's quite interesting at the moment, as you can probably imagine. Yeah. For lots of reasons.
Absolutely. Yes. Say no more.
Yeah.
And do the teams in the UK, do they have international reach and scope? Or is it local?
Sorry, I should have said the way we're structured. So we've got effectively 5 big business divisions. And I have teams in all of those divisions.
Okay.
So the executive committee is comprised of functional leaders and business unit leaders. And each of the business units, there's New York, New England, the electricity transmission business in the UK, so the big motorway systems, effectively, the electricity distribution business in the UK, which is the A-roads, and then we have one business which is global, which is our ventures business, which has things like electricity interconnectors and some competitive transmission things in the US. So it's a mix of, it's those 5 business units, and they each have a general counsel in them, and they report to me, and they're responsible for legal, risk and compliance in those business units. And then I have a couple of sort of centres of excellence like litigation, which is global, compliance, risk, safety, sustainability. So it's a bit of a mix.
Nice. All right. We'll waste no time and jump into lesson 1, if you could share that.
Sure. This is probably not that unique, but I think it's so important. It's worth reiterating. And I call it, and I say this to my team a lot, insight over information.
Okay.
So I think this is where a lot of in-house lawyers really stand apart. And this is about understand the context in which you're giving the advice. It's really, really easy to well, not easy, but it's a trap that you can fall into as an in-house lawyer, which is to think that your clients internally want to know that you know all the legal issues and that you're technically brilliant. The reality is they sort of assume that, and they don't know anyway. So you don't need to prove to them that you're a good lawyer. You need to prove to them that you understand the context that they're operating in, that you can actually provide business advice, that you can provide solutions, that you can lean into the problems or the opportunity that they're trying to deal with, and partner with them and provide options, risk calibration, solutions. So it really is about understanding context, which is incredibly important. And I think the other part of that is about the relationship, so the people part, because you can understand the context, but there's also a context which is an individual personal aspect, i.e. what's the issue that person is really wrestling with, and what do they need from you? I call it the WIFM, so what's in it for me?
Right.
Everybody comes into the room with some sort of a WIFM, and they either want a quick answer, they want a deal to go over the line, they want to sell more products, they want to manage a risk, they want, I don't know, whatever they're looking for in the conversation. And if you don't understand that well, you also miss the mark. So you need to invest, I think, as an in-house lawyer, in understanding the context, the business issue, and the personality at the other end of the questions. I think I often say to people as well, pick up the phone or go and talk to somebody.
Right.
One of my pet peeves is when there's 2 pet peeves. One is really, really long emails with completely tedious, unnecessary information. It's sort of as if some lawyers think they're doing GCSE maths and they've got to show all the workings. And you think, no. They assume you know that. You need to have done the work, but you need to come with some pretty sharp answers and some sensible, creative thinking. But the other thing you need to do is not send back and forth lots of emails that become entrenched and unhelpful and wasting people's time. Just pick up the phone to somebody and just say, how can I help? What I don't understand. Let me try and understand what you're really trying to get at. Because there's also a risk quite often that the people are asking the wrong question. Sometimes, a question will get asked and the lawyer ends up trying to answer a question which isn't even the right issue, actually. And if they engage, they then work out what they really need to do. So it's kind of, I call it insight, and it comes from a combination of understanding business context, understanding the people, and getting into the issue.
Where did that first click for you? Because you were Freshfields' lawyer.
So I trained at Freshfields. I don't know when it first clicked. I trained as a competition lawyer.
Okay.
Which is possibly one of the areas where, there's quite a lot of technical issues you need to understand, whether it's merger control or, behavioural issues. But you do end up unlike, say, other areas, you do actually have to understand business context quite a lot when you're practicing competition law, I think. And I'm not saying that to denigrate any other areas, but, you really do need to understand the market movements and the dynamics for multiple different kinds of businesses when you're a competition lawyer. So I think maybe I understood a little bit more about context more naturally than perhaps somebody who was doing M&A and doing IPOs and things like that, or So I don't know when it clicked for me, but it is one of the things that I try to impress upon anyone who's in the team as much as possible. And many of them are brilliant at it, and many in-house lawyers are great at it. But it's one of the things as a junior lawyer you really need to learn when you join in-house, I think.
What proactive, like an organisation the size of National Grid and the number of people, and I guess I'd imagine the stakeholders that the legal team can have at any point in time, what proactive steps can someone take in that type of organisation to build those relationships before you need to question or query or whatever?
Well, I think there's a lot of, well, first of all, there's a bit about come into the office and spend time with people. And of course, post-COVID, I think
it's difficult.
we've all struggled a little bit with trying to encourage our teams to come into the office. And it's always a balance, because I do believe that, you know, we are a talent function and we offer flexibility because we want the best people. So it's important also to give them the right flexibility to live their lives. So it isn't about, you know, three-line whip. Everyone must be in the office at all times, but investing time in relationships is incredibly important. So be in, meet your colleagues, lean into their issues, try and meet them where they're at. I mean, almost physically and emotionally and intellectually, and sort of just spend time going to their team meetings, even having lunch with people, and actually asking for help, I think, is really important as well.